I did not see this coming because I was critical, very confused why he was down in NXT for so long. But the obvious answer is Braun Breaker. This feud that he's got going on with Sammy right now has been fantastic, and I'm starting to see it more. Right, like he was world champion or the NXT champion for so long. Like it was a long run that he had. Then he drops it. He's like in this weird tag team. It's like, what the hell are they doing with him down there? Do they not believe in him? So that made me start questioning him. I think you're starting to see him be kind of the next big star, I think, of WWE. So who is the wrestler on the cusp of being a big star? I think it's Braun Breaker, and it took us maybe a little bit longer for us to get here, but I think we're there with him.
And the weird part, by the way, like, I'm not watching NXT weekly. I'd be in and out in some of the bigger shows. Braun was one of those guys, you're like, all right, I guess he's ready. He'll be fine. Carmelo is the guy I thought would be a star, and I think those two have flipped on the main roster. Like, I agree with you about Braun, whereas Carmelo has sort of been a letdown since he got called up.
Carmelo Hayes is the same as just some of these other young cocky wrestlers. I thought he was good as a babyface in NXT, and I thought that that's where they were going, but he's kind of a cocky heel, and that's really no different than some of the other guys on SmackDown. So I'm confused by that. But that 5 you gave, though, you gave Daniel Garcia, you gave Jordynne Grace. I would say that Jordynne Grace, and it's so funny, man, this whole thing with NXT and TNA, this relationship is so interesting. I think that when Jordynne Grace's contract is up in January, that's according to Fightful Select, that she's going to be the breakout star in WWE. She'll start off in NXT. She'll be NXT champion. They'll call her up, and she's going to be this powerhouse. And I think that she'll get over. I really do. I think she can have some really great matches. I would say that
Do you need to start her in NXT? She's already had the exposure. Like I'm assuming she's going to do a couple more here and there. I think you can debut. I think she can show up at the Rumble, and then she's just on Raw or SmackDown.
CW needs some stars when NXT goes. The old CW network needs a few faces. By the way, this whole thing with that relationship is amazing. I just tuned in just for a second just to see what's going on. First of all, the three of us are fans of Ethan Page. We just when he was at AEW, just like, oh, this guy, just a solid veteran. He becomes their champion. And they had like the Rascals from TNA come to NXT on Tuesday night, and the crowd in the NXT arena is like TNA. Like even TNA wrestlers don't say, even TNA fans don't say TNA. I'm like, this is the smartest crowd in wrestling right now. They knew, and I didn't know until they put the thing on the bottom, like, oh, those are the Rascals from TNA. And the crowd's like, oh my God, they're from TNA. On NXT, on the USA Network. And it's just like a long chant for TNA wrestlers. Shawn Spears is over. He was never over in AEW. He's over in NXT. I just think that relationship is just very interesting. TNA wrestlers that you don't see come to NXT, and they're over. The TNA wrestlers come over to NXT. It's really interesting.
Well, on the Jordynne Grace point, do you think a guarantee she goes to WWE, or does Tony throw a boatload of money at her?
I think she's WWE bound.
Okay.
I do.
Because I agree she is a star, and like the next one. For me, and I don't know if this has been in the rules, like, is it Ospreay? Like, as we see him to work on the mic more, and we see him on TV every week as opposed to Indy and Japan and stuff, like, it feels like there's a next level for him right now.
Yeah, he's
sure, but he's already one of the biggest stars in wrestling.
All right. Well, then my other one, Kyle Fletcher, friend of the show, like what he's starting to do. I think Hood, I know you're a big fan, but I think RIP Aussie Open, because I don't think Kyle Fletcher's a tag team wrestler anymore, and I think there's something more to do with him there.
We slid him that question. You slid him that question about Mark Davis. Mark's doing fine, but anyway,
nice guy.
He just moved
on. Mark Jannetty?
Yes.
He just moved on to a tag team I really enjoyed. He was so into his singles run and being part of the Don Callis family. It's funny, the three of us did not mention Daniel Garcia. I'm going to guess why. I think it's because of AEW booking and we don't trust it.
Sure.
I think that's the reason why. Like, it should be Daniel Garcia. Like what we've seen since Buffalo to what I saw, what we've seen on Dynamite and the build of Daniel Garcia, you would think it's him. Can't trust it. That guy is not going to be the heavyweight champion in that company. He's not. He might get over and win matches, but he's not going to be at the tippy top of that company.